How do I look?
Amazing. You look amazing. You look fresh. Did you sleep good last night? You look hungry, if I'm going to be honest.
It's obvious you didn't go through makeup before you came in the studio.
Yeah, what's with the fasting anyways?
Oh, I don't know. Long story.
You can't. He likes a challenge.
I like just something
Listen,
mentally
as a wrestler, I love that stuff.
But my definition of challenge and Adam's are significally different things.
I would agree with that
He'll
100%.
be through like the rainforest and climbing a volcano with no bottoms on his feet.
Yeah. Those
I'm
days
like
went
struggling to
by
get
to me a long
72.
time ago. So
Same.
Yeah.
When you could get like 6 tacos for $9, I was
Yeah.
like, that's amazing.
right. I
Right?
just went to Taco Bell the other day and got food for my daughter and went, what happened? A meal's $12.
No, it's
That's
not like it used
crazy.
to be. 99-cent burritos are
Yeah,
gone.
I was like $19 was my daughter's meal, and she got 2 things and a drink. That's
Do you remember the gross
insane.
pintos and cheese cups?
Yes.
Oh, they're so
Yeah.
good.
But this is still the only Taco Bell that does chili cheese burritos.
And they're delicious too.
So
you can see why we can't fast.
Yeah, yeah,
That's exactly why.
I did it in wrestling for a long time, so I don't want to do it anymore. So
Oh, all right. Well, welcome back to the ThriveIN Wabash County podcast. We are in for a really fun, entertaining episode, I can already tell. In studio tonight, we have myself and both hosts are here, Alex and Adam. And we are joined in studio with Tyler Niccum. Welcome, Tyler.
thank you. Thanks for having me, guys.
We're glad to have you. You are one of those individuals who is rooted in Wabash County. Lifer, correct?
Yes.
Other than college?
Minus 1 year in college, I tried. Didn't work out real well.
Well, you
So,
tried. That's all you
Yeah,
got
I
to do.
tried. I finished. I got the degree.
You did.
I couldn't be at college.
Yeah.
I needed to be working and going to college.
Yeah.
That's better for-
Perspective and priorities.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk a little bit about Tyler Niccum, who you are, where you grew up, a little bit about your family. So where did you grow up at in Wabash County?
So I was on the north side of town. I went to Northfield.
Mm-hmm.
So
Norseman.
A Norseman. That's right. An 01 graduate. And, the school that we hated the most, Southwood. I mean, and the crazy thing is, all my friends graduated from Southwood now. Tom Wright, Justin Denny, those guys, I couldn't stand them when we were in high school. And now I'm like, hey, you guys want to go golfing over the weekend?
I told you guys he's an avid golfer. Over
yeah.
here.
Tom Wright's my buddy match partner. I played men's league with, he's one of my best friends, and I didn't like you in school, man.
There was that rivalry,
Yes.
NHS, SHS.
Yeah, it was there. And
Same school corporation.
Yeah, and you thought we didn't like Wabash or Manchester, but it was we didn't like each other. It was the way it was. But yeah, they're all good buddies now, and so
Graduated from Northfield High School. Where did you lived? I assume on the north side of town. Then?
I did. I lived just down the road from Metro North. I could have drove my 4-wheeler there, but they wouldn't let me. So
Waited for tractor day.
I did drive tractor day, but it was so close. I thought I could just walk there. Well, the school frowned upon that, so I had to ride the bus for 30 seconds down the road. So
Shortest commute.
yeah,
And your degree is in business management and marketing.
correct.
Yeah, from Indiana Wesleyan.
Indiana Wesleyan, isn't that the shocker that where I went to school? So
Good
My
for ya.
eyebrows are not raised because of that. That doesn't surprise me very much, but I just wanted to take a moment and pause for our listeners here. Christine is 2 for 2 on facts.
I did
Sometimes
good.
our research, it's almost a Wikipedia situation.
Yeah, no,
We're
she nailed
not
that
real
one.
sure where the facts came from, but she's off to a good start.
2 for 2. It
Sorry,
nailed
Christine.
that.
I
Continue.
think I'm going to do well.
And it was just a shade under a decade too. Isn't that what most doctors do?
I mean, it's pretty much
Yeah.
the same value.
Yeah.
And you're married since 2013, right? To your wife
She's
Amber.
3 for 3. Mm-hmm. Gwendolyn, by the way.
Gwendolyn.
I didn't get that. That's the response I get all the time. So my wife's name is Gwendolyn Amber.
Is
Niccum.
it really?
So the first time
you
we
heard
went
it
out-
here first.
Yeah. Which some of her staff knows that, but like my friends, the first time we went out, we've been together for 3 years, 4
No
years.
clue.
No clue. And we were sitting at dinner in Peru. There was 6 couples, so there's 12 of us. And I said, hey, Gwendolyn, what are you going to order? Because it was very loud. And Jay Stanley goes, who's Gwendolyn? And I was like, that's my wife. And he was like, her name's Amber. And I'm like, it's Gwendolyn Amber. So we might have to cut that out, by the way.
Oh, no,
I'm
that's
just kidding.
public
I
record
know,
right there.
I know.
We got that.
Yeah.
And she is the inpatient manager at Parkview Wabash
She
Hospital.
is,
Are you still
yeah.
keeping score over
Yeah,
there?
that's nailed it.
Yeah.
And yeah, so she's ahead of a lot. She's a lot smarter than me. So
She's a lot smarter than probably all 4 of us.
So you're the smart one.
we'll say that, but definitely not. She med surge, CCU, house supervision. She does a lot.
Yeah.
She's got many hats there.
And she's well respected with Parkview Wabash Hospital.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah. I keep telling her she's got to work till she's 70 because I want to retire. But she says it's the other way around. So,
And you have 2 children together.
So we have 3 children.
You have, my first strike.
Messed up the kids.
So
I thought I was doing so good.
Michaela's 26.
Michaela.
Yep. And then Braden's 22 and Sydney's 20.
Dang
So
it. I was feeling so good.
And then the 3-year-old grandson.
And did you guys know he's a granddad over here?
And it's going to be times 2. So Michaela's pregnant again with another boy. So Beckett is his name. She will not tell me what his middle name is, and I'm not real happy.
Maybe it's Gwendolyn.
Could be. I said we did the gender reveal on the first one, Amber and I did. So the second one, she told us we couldn't do the gender reveal, and I said, okay, that's fine, not a big deal. And so my youngest did it with her best friend, and I said, that's fine. Well, then now the names came out, and I said, what's his middle name? She said, well, I'm not telling you that either till he's born. And I said, I didn't know gender, and I don't know the middle name. I'm like, that's crazy. I feel like I should know one of the 2.
Well, congratulations for
Yeah,
sure.
I'm so excited.
And if our listeners haven't picked up, Tyler and Amber are deeply rooted in family.
Yep.
Giving back to this community and serving it well. Amber is a longtime employee and favorite employee at Parkview Wabash Hospital, but you are now with Bulldog Battery.
Yep.
You're the regional sales manager.
I am.
And we were just talking about putting your phone on airplane mode. I'm assuming that has a little bit to do with your role there. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, for sure. So after I left the city, I made my way to Metal Source for a few years. And then this job just kind of happened to open up. Blaine, my boss, worked with me when he was at Steel Supply. So I had met him and he had posted on LinkedIn one day. And I just said, hey, what's that job about? I'm always keeping my options open. And he said, come talk to me. So I went and talked to him. And he said, in 4 weeks, we're going to make you an offer. We want you. But I have pro mat. I'm going on spring break. And then when we get back, we'll work the details out.
Yeah.
So I chalked it up to, okay, 4 weeks, I'll see an offer. Sure. Well, it happened 4 weeks, like almost on the dot. They sent me an email, and so I countered back, and they recountered, and that was it. And I said, ever since then, I've been nothing but travel. So, tomorrow I fly out and go to Jackson, Mississippi, because doesn't everybody want to go to Jackson, Mississippi?
I mean, I kind of would like to go. I
Now
bet
it's
they have
going to
got
be
good
80.
barbecue.
It's going to be 80 and sunny while I'm there for 3 days, so I'm not mad about that. And I fell into the South territory. I got actually hired in for the Northeast, which now is filled by Aaron McCourt
That's
from
right.
Wabash.
Oh, yeah.
So one of my best friends since we were like 10 years old.
Oh.
So that's pretty cool that we get to work together, spend a lot of time together. He actually is in LaGuardia closed today.
I
I don't know if you
saw
saw that.
Yeah.
That was crazy. But so he had to change his flight to fly into JFK. So that's what he's done today. So yeah, I travel quite a bit.
How often during the week are you traveling?
I fly out usually on Tuesday and come home on Friday
Okay.
when I travel for the week.
And Bulldog Battery is known for?
Our forklift batteries, which if you can believe that there's like 3,000 types, I couldn't believe that.
There's 3,000 types of forklift batteries.
If you called an order or you said you might have this forklift, there's 3,422 chances it needs this battery. So, I mean, and we build all of those batteries.
Oh my gosh.
So the things that you learn when you go work somewhere that I would have, I thought there's like 2, right?
Yeah.
Like,
And Bulldog has 2 plants.
we have a tray manufacturing plant and we have our cell manufacturing down here, which we're one of very few that do it that way. So our lead times are fantastic. We can get product out the door in a week or 2 when other
Wow.
companies are 10 to 12 week lead times because we vertically integrated and we do both sides of what you need to make a forklift battery. So they were very smart about that 20, 30 years ago of doing that. And now we're just benefiting on it because there's so many people like, hey, what's the lead time on that? And I tell them, they're like, we're ordering it today. Like, we don't even have to get another price. Your lead time's 10 weeks better than what I'm getting right now. So we're
That
priding
makes it
ourselves.
easy for you to be out there and selling it,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, and now there's a possibility I might have to go to Costa Rica. I might have a new customer there. I feel awful about that too, by the way.
Darn it.
Darn it.
And Bulldog Battery is 100% employee owned and operated.
Yes. And that's another just bonus for employees. And since that's happened, I can see a huge change in people's demeanor and how they go about working. Like there's pride in their work because at the end of the day, it benefits them. If we put a good quality product out, at the end of the day, we get more in return.
That's right.
So I can see guys, since I've started, just the extra little details of working and looking and, hey, how can we be better tomorrow? And that's awesome to work for a company like that. So Bulldog's been great so far. Now it's 6 months in, 7 months in. Let's see in a year's time. But things are going well now.
Yeah, it sounds like it. And
Yeah.
it sounds like with you having that territory, having Aaron join you,
Yep.
you know, it always makes it nice when you get to work with a friend and share that time. But Bulldog is deeply rooted in the Wabash community. 1977, I believe, was
Yeah.
when it was originated. And so it's been around almost 50 years here.
Coming up on 50.
As a major employer. And so while the employees are benefiting, we as a community always benefit when one of our major manufacturers is doing really well. Tyler, you've been with Bulldog a short time, but we think it's going to be a long time. I can feel it. You look excited.
20 years is my plan, so we'll see how that goes.
And you were with Middle Source for
2 years.
2 years.
Yep.
But before that, you were the assistant superintendent for the Wabash City Street Department, and that's how you and I got to know each other.
Yep.
And I got to see your heart for people, and I got to see the joy that you brought when you got to do something good that made something better for somebody else. And so we were teasing before we got started, the way the street department leans in. They walked alongside Visit Wabash County for years. You guys were always there for us when we needed it, whether it was street blocking, carrying 2 skids of guides to our basement.
Yeah, that one was a fun one. I remember that.
The old days, we used to use the trolley for transport.
Transporting the water jugs all back and forth for the dam to dam.
Yeah, so you really do have a great
Well, I
great
appreciate that. A little bit of extra goes a long way. So I feel like that's pretty much how I do everything in life. If I can do a little extra, it goes a long way to people. So
It is evident.
Tyler, your heart for the community is evident, whether it's the extra that you go ahead for Visit Wabash County and Dam to Dam. But I noticed that when you walked in, you were wearing a Center Court Cares hat, which in a previous episode, Christine had the Leslies on, and they talked a lot about Center Court Cares and how that started and how it's impacted our community. I know you've been there. You've played rounds of golf with those guys every year.
Yep.
You're an avid golfer, right?
Yeah, for sure. And I just want to note, Karen's awesome. So bye, Jeff. Bye, Jeff. No, that's the joke Jeff has with me. He does that to my wife all the time. He's like, "Hi, Amber." And I'm like, "Hey, Jeff." And he's like, "Go in the house, Tyler." And I'm like, "Got it." So I had to make sure I got that on here with Jeff and Karen. Love them to death. Center Court Cares. So I'm on that board, and I've been on that board since it started. So Tom Wright and I have been good friends for a long time. And he came to me when Paxton was sick and said, "Would you be on board with helping out with this?" I was like, "Absolutely, whatever you need from me." Well, he partnered up with Jeff and Kyle to create this. And, it's been that way ever since. And it's been fantastic. The journey that's been Center Court Cares has been pretty fantastic. And it's a long day, that's for sure. I go out there the night before, pack bags, put signs out, get there first thing in the morning, get things going. It's a 16-hour day. And a couple years ago, I tried to play both rounds, and I will not do that ever again because I hurt for like a week after that.
You're getting older,
So,
Tyler.
Yes, and I don't need to be doing that. So now I just sit out on a tea station somewhere in the afternoon and say hi to everybody.
Well,
That's about it.
And that's just the work you're doing during the golf outing.
Yeah.
Not say, all throughout the year, the work that you guys put into that and sponsorships and everything else.
We try to meet once a month. So sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes we have to go 2 months. But to get 10 guys to be on the same page without our wives telling us we can go and coordinating it better, we do a pretty good job, honestly.
Yes.
Most of the time, it's 6 to 7 of us that are there. Somebody's always got something going on. And then in summertime, when it's nice and we can have a meeting outside, then everybody somehow shows up automatically. So, no, this is a great group of guys. Brad Wright and Jeff and Kyle and Tom and Paul and Stanley. There's, and friends with all of them. So that helps too. Makes things easy.
In addition to Center Court, you also have poured into the animal shelter here locally.
I have.
Tell us a little bit about that.
So my daughter works out there part-time. She's probably the hardest worker I know. She goes to school. She was going to school full-time in Indianapolis and then living with us in Wabash and then worked at the animal shelter and where she works at the Elwood Vet. So she was doing all that. So kudos to her. But she is a part of that. And we have so many animals at our house. We got 10 cats, 5 dogs. Look at his face. That's how I feel all the time. And, you know, the fact is I don't have any authority to say we can't have this many. I'm outvoted every single time. And I love animals, don't get me wrong. So any way I can help out the animal shelter, absolutely. Never want to see dog, cat, whatever, abandoned somewhere. So it's kind of because of Sydney, I think more, it rings home to me. If it was me, I'd have 0 animals because I'm not probably that responsible that I should have them. But
Now we're talking.
but then at the end of the day, I'm the one that feeds them and waters them all the time.
Sure.
So I don't know how this happened that I got the job to take care of them. So that's what Amber says the most time when I travel is, now I got to get up in the morning and go take care of them. I'm like, yeah.
The animal shelter, though, they really value Sydney there and what she brings and have high hopes that maybe she'll stay.
Yeah, that's kind of the goal that they've said to her. Hey, when you finish your schooling, because she's now in her externship part, which is just working.
Yeah.
And, you know, most of the time you don't get paid for that. Well, the Elwood Vet's paying her because they value her big time. And the other 3, I think, they're getting like 16 hours a week. She's getting like 48 hours a week. So like
she's also good at, I mean,
she's fantastic.
Yeah, she's fantastic at it.
She's got the passion for animals. Now, humans, I don't know if she does. But
Can't have both.
you can't have both. I agree. You got to love one or the other. So that's probably where she draws the line. So
Now, Tyler, if I remember right, during your campaign, which we'll get into what you were campaigning for in a minute, but during your campaign, did you raise some money in addition for the animal shelter?
I did. So it was dog food or cat food, whatever you wanted to bring. For the golf outing I did, I said every team was responsible for bringing a bag of dog food or a bag of cat food.
Yeah, very cool idea.
And I said I would like it if every player bought it, but I know that that's not realistic. So, and if you don't bring one, you're going to give $40 so we can go get one. And everybody agreed. And, you know, I think we got like 12 or 13 bags of food.
That's awesome.
And so I took it to the animal shelter that day after the golf outing. And she was like, "Oh, where'd this come from?" I'm like, "Well, I made everybody bring a bag." So
That's that little extra you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
It's just a little bit more.
and that was, you know, it was probably Sydney and that's my wife too. She's the smart one of the group. So she's like, "Why, if we're not bringing people together, don't we try to knock another cause out of the way?" And I was like, "Absolutely, let's do that." So Tyler Ginnen was actually funny. No, he was the first one to show up with a bag of cat food, and he didn't even play. He just came, supported, and brought a bag of cat food. And I was like, "You didn't have to do that." He goes, "Well, they need to eat too." So
That's right.
yeah, it's good for Tyler for that. So
Yeah, for sure. So, Tyler, your transition into public service, you mentioned your career, your time obviously with the city, working then in the private sector, but you chose to run for commissioner. And so you're in your first term as county commissioner right now. If you'd be willing to share just a little bit, obviously we all know at the national level, state level, and even local level, there's hardly a decision maybe that isn't controversial, or at least the decisions that are being talked about and the majority of phone calls I would guess that you get. And you came and decided to run for commissioner in a time of controversy, or as Wabash County was going through one of those issues. Just speak a little bit about why you decided to run and what public service that's kind of woven throughout your everyday life, but what that means to you.
for sure, I definitely learned a lot at the city for 20 years, right? Like working with this mayor and the previous mayors, you know, I got a pretty good feel of what that looks like on the daily basis. Didn't realize some of the things that came with it. But the good thing is I got broad shoulders and I can handle people being mad at me. I'm not going to lose any sleep over it. I have a moral compass and it goes one direction. And if it doesn't fall in line with that and you don't like it, I guess it's probably where some people don't like me for that reason. But that's just how I've always been. I think doing the right thing is the easy thing. You never have to back down or make up stories because it's the right thing to do. So I always get asked the question, would you run again in 4 years? Or, you know, if you had to do it all over again, would you run? My answer is absolutely not. Okay. Without a doubt. And then the next question they ask, are you going to run again? And the answer is yes, I'm going to. So make sense of that. You know, I started something, I see something I feel like needed corrected over the years of neglect. And I feel like it proved my point when I went to the State House a couple weeks ago and we met with some of the senators and they were my age, right? So like, that's awesome. We need 42, 43. Let's get involved. Let's make a difference, you know? And the one said to me, he says, Tyler, do you know what the average age of senators are in Indiana? And I said, well, no, probably like 50 since you guys bring it down. It's 70. Our average age of a senator is 70. And those guys are my age. So I'm like, how old are it's just about getting involved. Like somebody's got to get involved and do something. Change has got to happen. I think the worst answer that anybody ever gives me is, well, that's the way we've always done it. I don't deal well with that because change has to happen.
Growth.
All the time. I want to be 20 years from now going, I can say I helped make this town better, make it where people want to live here and become a part of this town, and then their kids and then their grandkids. So those are the things that kind of drive me in the direction that I go.
Yeah. No, thanks for sharing that, Tyler. For our listeners that may not know, county commissioner, what that role entails, and then we alluded a little bit to it, but a 4-year term, right? So you're about halfway through?
Yeah, I'm coming up on halfway through.
Okay, so coming into year 3 of your first 4-year term. But what does a county commissioner do? What is the difference between a county commissioner and a county council person? If I'm a resident, right, I hear all these different terms or I see maybe the impacts of decisions that are being made, but what does that process look like with your individual role?
That was the first question that somebody asked me. What is a county commissioner? I said, your guess is as good as mine, right off the bat, right off the rip. But no, so, you know, I look at it as day-to-day operations, right? Assets, roadways, bridges, employees, just kind of taking care of the day-to-day stuff and making sure projects are going in the right direction. Have a good 5-year plan, a good 10-year plan. You know, where county council comes into that, and, you know, our county council's great, and, you know, they make things easy, and so does Shelley, our auditor. She's great. Makes things easier when it's like that, right? And everybody has that forward thinking, let's grow together. Let's figure out how to do that. You know, one of the projects going on is building a new health department, right, in the old jail. You know, that cost came with a $1.4 million or whatever it was to tear it down. Then we have an empty lot there. Like, what do we do then?
Yeah.
Spend more money to put a building back up. Well, why don't we just renovate it and use it for a bunch of different departments? That's great. So, you know, the health department should be done May 1st down there. It's coming together nicely finally. But those are kind of the things that the commissioner does on a daily basis compared to council, you know, that's our fiscal responsibility, you know. So that's the best way I could define that.
Yep. So back to the schoolhouse rock government, right? County units of government in Indiana are a little bit different, right? Because you wear both the executive and the legislative branch hat, right? Where the fiscal hat is the county council, to your point. Which is...
And they do a great job. I mean, you know, everybody's on that same boat. We're in this together. Let's figure it out, however we do that. So, you know, I might not have a great idea, but they might, and we can run with that. But because together, cohesively, we're good, you know, so that makes things really easy to do.
And in Wabash County, how many county commissioners are there?
3. So every county has 3 county commissioners. And I tell the mayor this too, and I talked to him the other day. I said, sometimes I envy you getting to make the decision and just one person. We don't have to have a meeting. But then at the other day, he goes, well, yeah, but I'm the only one to blame.
Yeah,
so
that's
I go,
true.
Good point. Good point.
Pros and cons.
Yeah, pros and cons. You got to
no
take with
it.
what you got.
The 3 of you commissioners, though, are great at really good, strong dialogue. You're constantly conversing back and forth, not afraid to ask each other the hard questions or the why or to dig deeper. And that is a camaraderie that I have witnessed between the 3 of you is, yes, we're all working toward the greater good in our county at the county level, but you're also not afraid to address the hard and the unknown with each other.
Yeah, transparency.
And that's important.
That's the biggest key, right? Like, put it out there. I mean, people might not like the answer, but you're being honest, right?
That's truth is truth.
You know, the wheel tax is a big one, right? Everybody's mad about it, and I get it. I have to pay it too. I'm not.
Right.
I'm not
You're
happy
not exempt.
about it. Yeah, and that was one of the things that somebody said to me once. They're like, "County commissioner, you don't have to pay taxes, do you?" And I was like, "Don't you think more people would sign up for this if they didn't have to pay taxes?" I promise you, I still have to pay the taxes that you pay. So it was interesting that wheel tax came up, and it was, well, if we don't do it, we're not going to get community crossings grants anymore, which is, as you know, it's an integral part for the county and the city is for the community crossings grants. They've paved a lot of roads in this town off of that. And so if we couldn't get that money, that just puts us behind the 8 ball again. So, Yeah, they brought in as a the lowest possible rate to pass that so that we could continue to get community crossings grants, which are vital. I mean, we just got one. We were told we didn't get one. And then 2 months later, we were told we did get it. So good thing we had earmarked the 20% for that project, or we would have been in big trouble because we were told the first year we didn't get it. So the community crossings grants are a big deal.
Huge.
So
Tyler, thanks for sharing that. And just also, I think it's important that our listeners heard what you said about your moral compass and values and how you make decisions, right? I think that one thing's extremely difficult about any position in leadership, but especially public office, right? Where you're dealing, you talked about an employee-owned company earlier, and I was sitting here thinking, like, that's all a community is, right? As we talk about all of these, especially county government, when you're working with tax dollars that come from the public, right? But essentially we're all stakeholders in it, right? And so we're showing up every day to make the community a better place. With all of us, we'll all reap the benefits of that, right?
Correct.
But for county government, hearing you talk in the weeds about that decision, our listeners get to get a glimpse into, they're going to read a headline about Wabash County commissioners pass a wheel tax. And a lot of folks, unfortunately, will stop right there.
yes.
Right? And they're going to pick up the phone and they're going to call you and say, you don't have to pay tax, or what the heck are you doing in this decision, right?
Exactly.
But what comes with leadership of an organization or of these is all of the information that you have to work really hard and spend countless hours outside of a public meeting to wrap your arms around in order to make that informed decision, well knowing that if you put out a poll, over half of the county, hey, do you want to pass a wheel tax?
Right.
You know what the constituents are going to say,
Yeah.
but they don't have the information that you have that's in front of you to make that decision.
Right. And that's what about being transparent, right? Like, give them all that information. I'll tell you how I arrived at that decision,
right.
and I have no issues telling you. I mean, again, you might not like it. I don't like it as a taxpayer, but that's just the way it's going to be.
That's really good.
Got to suck it up and go,
agree.
unfortunately. I don't know if there's ever going to be you're never going to have an item that everybody agrees 100%. I promise, even if it was the color blue in front of you, somebody's going to disagree because they're colorblind, and that's gray.
No, and not to get too political, but I get frustrated at the federal level sometimes when decisions are made. But at the local level, when you're in government, you're at the grocery store with these folks, right? You're not in Washington, D.C. and up in a castle. I mean, these folks, if you make a decision that impacts them, you're going to see them on Monday morning at the commissioner meeting, if not Sunday at church or Saturday in line at the grocery
you guys
store.
probably won't like this answer, but that's why I don't go to First Fridays.
Well, because you don't get to turn it off.
I don't get to turn it off, and I want to go enjoy it with my family, right?
Yeah.
And so sometimes I don't mind it, but it gets where I go 5 feet and then I got to stop again. And Amber's like, "You're on your own. We're taking off." And
Or
I'm
it's like the doctor, when doctors see their patients out there, like, can you look at this mole?
Yeah.
I mean, you do need to have time to be Tyler Niccum, the family man.
Yep, that's and it's not that I don't love First Friday because I love it.
Sure.
But it's
You don't get to be Tyler Niccum,
my
the
goodness,
family man.
I get hounded about everything. So it's I now that it's nicer, I'll probably show up at 1, but I got to be in a really good state of mind if I'm going to show up. And I want a tenderloin or something, or Nick's dogs or something.
Yeah.
So
No doubt. Tyler, you mentioned just one challenge there about the need to pass the wheel tax, but what are some of the other challenges that the county's facing right now in terms of county government or decisions that you all are faced with, some of which you didn't ask for, right?
Yeah.
And so what is just something
SB1?
else? Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
that one we didn't ask for.
So for our listeners that may not know a little bit about,
Senate Bill 1 is, they kind of wanted to make the decision for us at the local level. And, they're not here. And then they try to make a cookie cutter approach for 92 counties. Well, Wabash County is not like Marion County or Hamilton County. I mean, we're not even like Grant County or Huntington County next to us. We're all different. So for them to step in with that bill right off the bat, to me, I had issues because you're not at our level. And, now that they're into the weeds with it and they're like, okay, we got a little in over our heads. And, a lot of the representatives, when I was again at the State House, and they're like, we should have not got involved in this. I don't know how we got this far now. I'm like, well, now we're here. So let's figure out a way to get there to the end and it doesn't affect everybody. So,
But it does take voices like yours and the mayors going and having these conversations and saying, this is not going to work for our communities.
right.
And so thank you for taking the time to advocate on our behalf, because that is another piece, and that takes another day out of your work day,
Yeah.
more time away. And you've stepped into that obviously wholeheartedly and passionately. But thanks for doing that, because you're going to bat for all of us.
Yeah, and it's that mayors and commissioner caucus that the mayor and I are on here is fantastic, and they go to the state house all the time. And hey, we got doors into several senators, representatives, like they're all able to go down there and talk, and that's fantastic when you have that avenue to be able to go down, and the people that are in charge down there can actually listen what the actual people are saying in these small towns. And so I think they've kind of listened to that last meeting I went to, like I said a few weeks ago. All of us from Huntington and the Northeast region were all pretty happy when we left, because we're like, well, we haven't heard that before. So maybe they are going to come up with something. And I think that they did push back another year for the lit and all that stuff. So that tells me that they're trying to figure out something, and they're listening. So, and they figured out that it's not a cookie cutter thing. They can't put 92 counties together as one thing. It just doesn't work that way. So I think that has been the biggest problem I've had so far with this whole gig, is the people at that level trying to tell us what we need to do. So
yeah, absolutely. And that's one thing I think that people don't see, right, is the trips to the Indianapolis. Obviously, if you've listened to the podcast so far, you realize that this isn't a full-time job, right?
Yeah.
In most counties, I think all but there's less than 10 that the commissioners are part-time and not full-time employees of the county. So it's a part-time gig. And if you looked at, I know the three of you and how much time each of you put in, it's not just the 9 a.m. every other Monday meeting, right? And so it would be a minimum wage job for the amount of time you all and the sacrifices you all make. I mean, truly public service and what you guys are doing, right?
Oh, without a doubt. Part-time is, it'd be way under minimum wage of what we do. And, I wouldn't trade it though. I mean, I love how it goes. And, some people are like, oh, some of the commissioners probably need raises. And I'm like, we don't need a raise. We're fine. We're fine.
Yeah.
So
not why any of you guys are doing it, right?
Yeah.
Not why any of you guys are doing it.
I don't do anything for money. That's just not me. And that's not part of my moral compass that I talked about. Money's not the root to all happiness for me. It's a byproduct of what happens, but that's not me. My father-in-law, he told me one time, he was like, I chased the money once, and that was the biggest. I moved to Texas and worked for a year at the worst company in my life because I chased money. I was like, well, that's why I don't chase it. I could care less if I had any money. My wife tells me we have some, so that's good.
That's all you need to know. We have
I don't
some.
ever check it. I bet you, and I haven't checked our account balance in 10 years. I don't look at it.
That's your public servant heart coming through and just continually radiating through every piece that you approach, whether it's, Center Court Cares or now as your role as a commissioner.
Yeah. I wouldn't have new shoes if it wasn't for my wife, though, so. I mean, you got to take the good with the bad, but I wouldn't shop. I wouldn't buy. I bought none of this outfit. So.
At least he called it an outfit. That's
Yeah.
I complimented it when it came in.
you did.
Yeah. This is all my wife. That's 100% fact.
Credit where credit's due.
Yeah. 100%. She's the reason I'm able to do this, right? So when I first came up with the idea, she's like, "Are you crazy?" And I'm like, "Well, you've been married to me for 12 years. I think you know this answer." And she's like, "Well, yeah, you have my support now." And this is the time I worked for Ben, right? And so I've been friends with Ben for 25 years, back when we played football against each other in high school. So I've known Ben Gebhardt for a long time. So I just called him, said, "Hey, you got 5 minutes to talk?" He's like, "Sure." So I said, "Hey, I'm thinking about running for county commissioner." I said, "But I'm not going to do it if, I don't have your blessing because I work here for you." And he's like, "Do you think it'll affect your job?" And I said, "No, I don't." And he said, "Then I'm good with it. Do what you need to do." So, and he was a big supporter of me when I was running, not only helping out financially with the campaign, but being a support, "Hey, I know you're going to miss this meeting. That's cool. Not a problem." So, Ben was great to work for. I never had any issues with Ben or Colin or the team over there. An opportunity presented itself that I thought might better me in the long run. So, and my family. And so I went that direction, but without Amber giving me the okay first and then Ben giving me the okay. And like when I interviewed with Blaine at Bulldog, I said, "Is this going to be an issue? Because if it is, it's the way it is." And he's like, "No, that's not an issue at all." So he goes, "I don't think it'll affect your job any." So I said, "No, sales is one that I might work, 8 to midnight or I might work 6 to 10. Like it comes
Yeah.
in waves with sales. So I guess that's the benefit, I guess, of having that job and doing the commissioner thing too. So
Yeah.
A great representation of our major employers also leaning into the role
yeah,
that you can have to be a positive influence and make a difference. And that's refreshing to hear that both, and not that I would expect anything different, but both Gebhardt Holdings, Metal Source,
Yep.
and Bulldog Battery both were in support of you
Yeah.
wanting to pursue and to fill this role that supported and served the community.
absolutely. And like I said, never had an issue there whatsoever. You know,
Right.
they were very supportive, and it took a perfect storm, right? Like, heck, my friends didn't even think I was going to win. So, I mean, you know, I got a buddy that, and I'm not going to drop a name. He knows who he is, because you're not supposed to take pictures inside the voting booth.
Yeah.
He snapped a picture, and it was clicked on a different name and not mine, and said, "Sorry, bud, but the majority told me in line that they were voting for him, so I'm doing it." And I'm like,
Hopefully he clicked the next button down
don't
for
know
your
if he-
name
you
when
know,
after he took the picture.
I don't
he
know if
switched.
he did or didn't
before he submitted
but
it.
I thought that was pretty funny. I said, "Hey, you're not supposed to have your phone in there doing that." And he's like, "I'm not." I'm like, "No." I'm like, "You're not supposed to do that." He's like, "I won't do it next time then."
Couldn't have been at the Justice Center. They take everything but your socks when
That's
you're going
right,
into the
they
Justice
do.
Center.
Well, that's why I was wondering, how did he get it? How did he get in there?
to know somebody.
Like I said, I'm not going to drop names.
That's
but
right.
It was a pretty funny in our friend group. It was pretty funny. So
Yeah.
What does that look like when you finally get your wife's blessing to run?
Yeah.
And you've talked to Ben. What are those first next steps then? What are you doing to try to organize and build a team around you? Or how does that work?
So the first thing I did was go get what do you want to call it, campaign manager. And it was really easy to do. And you know her very well, Katie. I mean, she's fantastic. She was working with me at Metal Source.
Yeah.
So it was easy to go talk to Katie and Whitney and say, "Hey, you guys want to help me out?" It's kind of what you do is marketing. So absolutely. So they jumped on board immediately. And Katie Beecham is fantastic. She is awesome. So anything you saw during that election time that was on Facebook or anywhere else you saw it, that was 100% Katie. Yeah. She is I would give her an idea, or she would kind of, and that was all it took. I mean, I've told her she's missing out on her gift of being a campaign manager at the highest level, because she is fantastic. So once I got that wrapped up, I thought, well, this will be easy now because I didn't want to make any Facebook posts. I'm not social media. You will not. I don't even know if I know how to make a post on social media, so I won't do that. But that was a big integral part, was Katie for sure. And, you know, she asks for nothing in return for it. So that was amazing. Of course, I don't let that go, but she's like, "I don't want anything." So we took her out to dinner, my wife, and did a couple different times just to show her how much we appreciated Katie. And shout out to Katie and Cam having their new baby.
No doubt.
So,
And how exciting, right? You talked earlier, 20 people of all ages that are interested in serving, whether
Yeah.
that's in an elected position, within an organization, volunteering, like we talk about all the time, right? We need more people on the bus to get involved in leadership, right? And giving back to the community. But how cool is that for you, the point you made, just as the next generation of leader, right?
Yeah.
We need more young leaders in the county. And then Katie is a young leader in the
Yes,
community to
absolutely.
just say, and that's her personality, right? We all know Katie and appreciate Katie, but just to say, "Hey, I'll help you." And it's because I believe in you and leading the community that she's raising her child in.
Yeah.
Right. And their young family in.
100%. People like Katie, and, you know, I got involved in the politics. You know, I got out of it clean after 20 years, I thought, and then I put myself right back. Actually, worse. I was just talking to Justin Adams about this the other day. I put myself worse position than I was. I mean, I was out clean. I didn't need to worry about it anymore at all. But I knew there was something called to me that I needed to do it. Like, you know, I always thought about it, always crossed my mind, and then, you know, putting it down on a piece of paper, saying I'm running now, it's a scary time, that's for sure. And especially running against two people that are very well experienced in life. Barry Stroop, you know, on the fire department with my dad for 20 plus years, and Barry Epley's been doing it for a long time, right? So talking to those guys during the whole process, and they were great, and I love that no smear campaigns were put on, right? Like, that to me is no. I can't do that. Like, I'm not going to talk bad. If I have something bad to say about somebody, I will say it to their face.
That we do believe.
Yeah. I have no issues and no qualms doing that. I'm not going to be one that talks behind your back. I will call you and we will have a conversation or meet in person. I don't care either way. And I'll be professional about it, but I'm not that person that goes behind somebody's back and says stuff.
Well, that's because a lot of times a conversation can ease confrontation, right? And so I've seen you do that in multiple times. And even with Barry and Barry. I was going to say Barry and Barry.
Psychologically, I think I won because they're both named Barrys.
Barry,
they're like, which Barry did I like? Which one I
vote.
did? Yeah,
Tyler. But that is something that is also remarkable. Is all three of you respected each other and your heart's desire to do the best, right? And so all three of you weren't smearing each other, talking trash.
Yeah, that's not me,
or them.
Yeah, agreed. I think it went across the board, and I didn't get to go Saturday to the sheriff's thing. I hope it went well, but I haven't heard them doing that to each other either, and I've thought that's very classy too. Like, I don't like people, and so like I didn't vote for a certain individual at a certain position because they did a smear campaign, and I liked them all. Besides that, once you did that. Yeah. And I told my wife, I said, I don't know what it is about that person. I just can't figure it out. I don't know if I trust them. And then they did that, and I was like, that's exactly why I didn't trust them. So I can't vote for that individual for that.
Because back to Alex's point, you're still going to see these people in the grocery store,
right?
At church, at the Little League Diamond, right? At the golf course.
At the golf course. I see a lot of people, yeah.
That's not going to not happen. And so why ruin a relationship?
And the one thing they don't tell you about when you become commissioner is you go from I'm on one board to being on 11 boards overnight. What? How am I on that many boards? What is there out there that there's 33 boards between the three of us that we need to be on? And it is. I mean, it's crazy.
One thing I think that I've taken away from this episode, and I hope our listeners have, when I was growing up in Indianapolis, an elected official at any level, local, state, was this far-fetched individual person, right? If anybody's listened to this episode so far, you're authentic, you're approachable, you're an everyday person that decided he wanted to get engaged and help make his community a better place.
Yeah.
Right.
And I had one today that a department head that called me and apologized to me because he came pretty mad a couple of weeks ago about something that was going on, a position, and he called me today to apologize, and I said, don't ever apologize to me for sticking up for your employees. That's not what I wanted that email sent to you to come talk to us as commissioners because we need to get some things in the open and talk about things. And he's like, I just wasn't in the right frame of mind, and I apologize. And I said, listen, again, don't apologize to me for having your employees' backs. That's the kind of people that I want in this town. So if you go to bat for your employees, it's a big home run for me.
Best asset we have, right?
It's the asset that, and a lot of people don't realize it, right? When you're running a company that's private or you're public and you're a county official or whatever it is, the people are your assets. I mean, 100%. How do you not
every
get
day
things
in this room?
Yeah, I mean, how do you not get things done with people? I mean, together, right? I mean, as a group, you'll get things done more than you can individually. So I want the county employees to always know that, one, I have their back, and two, I'll go to bat for them whenever I can. But also the constituents the same way. Like, my moral compass will never be guided one way or another because it goes back to that. I don't care about money, so you can't get me. So
you're not slipping Tyler a hundo hoping to sway him.
No, you can keep your money. I don't need it. Like I said, if I spend $30 on a pair of shoes, I'm pretty mad. So I'll wear the same pair since 2005 if it was up to me. So
yeah, like you said, it's anybody can truly sit in the seat of a commissioner, council, if your heart is in the right place. You show up. Yeah. The other thing that gets me, though, is the time commitment that I've added up in my head now about the different positions. You've got to go to board meetings, center court, cares. You work a sales job that takes you not just out of the county, but out of the state at multiple times.
About to be the country, going to Costa Rica.
That's right.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about that one. I do have a customer in Puerto Rico, too. He's like my second biggest customer. So I just went there a couple of weeks ago, and wow. That place is awesome, by the way. For
the guy or gal that's sitting at home and they think, I don't have the time to do this, you truly do. If it's a sacrifice that you're willing to make, I'm sure you have to make sacrifices. There's events that you'd like to be at that you can't because you've got more important things on your priority list. We all have the time to pour in and volunteer or run for an office if it's what you want to do.
Exactly. I mean, And there are some things that I do miss, and I hate that I miss them because I'm either A, I'm not here, or B, I have another obligation that I've already signed on to. And I've had that happen several times where I'm like, man, I'd rather go to that than this. But I already gave my word I was coming to this. So, it's those things that's the toughest part for me is I've made an obligation, but I'd rather go that was more fun, I think. I'd have a better time there, but it doesn't matter. So I've given my word, and that's how I go. And, all these projects or anything that's going on in the community, if anybody ever asks, I'll always give an answer. It can be done, right? Like, just got to do a little bit extra. A little bit extra goes a long way. So I have a customer trying to get back that they've done business with us in the past. They haven't done business with us in like 10 years. And they just came back and started ordering from us last week. And I talked to him on the phone, and he's like, well, we'll see how this goes. We're going to order one, see how it goes. I said, great. And he's like, how's things been going? I said, I've had a great quarter. And he's like, man, it's crazy when you put a little bit of effort into something, what happens? And I'm like, you're absolutely right. It didn't take a whole bunch, but it took a little bit of effort. So, and that's why I say that, like the river defender cleanup stuff, like it, all the things you could do in this community, it take you 4 hours in the day to go do something. Just do it. It's not going to be hard. At the end of the day.
I'd be glad you did.
Now I have to go do river defenders, don't I?
Yeah, well, we'll tell Michael Beecham you've signed up.
Signed yourself up.
I've signed myself up. That's fine. I'm down. I'm all about it. So let's do it.
I'm going to flip the script a little bit. And thank you for sharing your heart for being a commissioner. But Tyler, before we kind of go off the rails a little bit, because I've got some fun questions to ask you, I think the other part about being a commissioner is you do take it personal in the fact that you truly do care.
Yeah, I do. And that's, some people say to you, yeah, you're just doing that to do it. No, I'm not. Like, that's not who I am, nor will I ever be.
Yeah.
If I was that person, I would have left the city 20 years ago and went somewhere else and did things. So, and I have trouble still at the county level because it's different than the city.
Sure.
Can't believe how much different it is, but it is. And I always say, hey, let's call we're a team, right? So if we need some sidewalk tore out, let's call the county highway. We got the equipment. Let's do it. Well, they don't like doing that because we're not supposed to be doing that. Well, oops, I'm doing it because we need to save money inside the county. If that's how we can do it, we're going to do it.
Right.
So, because we did that way at the city all the time. I mean, we did things all the time that we were probably extra and above, right?
Always.
And I want that to be for that way at the county too. Like, and if I get in trouble from State Board of Accounts, I'll take the punishment. I'm fine with it.
But because your heart is that it's to do the most with what we have.
Right.
And then you can still go above and beyond. It might be a little more extra work, but
Right.
it goes a long way and makes a huge difference. And you saw that 20 years with the city.
Yeah.
You can see that be just as effective at the county level as well.
Yeah, and we had that come together when we tore out the old jail, right? Like cutting out all them old cells. We had some inmates that Sheriff Baker sent to us.
Awesome.
Had some of the county highway guys there helping. It's wintertime. There's not anything going on. Let's reuse. I was in there too. Commissioner was in there too, working. Now I'm not as strong as Mo Lloyd. That little boy works at the county. That boy's strong now. Goodness.
But again, it's because that heart that you have is you actually do care.
Yeah.
You care what the constituents, what their quality of life and place is like, and you are very looking at ways to be fiscally responsible while still doing your best.
Right.
So other than the golf course, where are we going to find Tyler Niccum in Wabash County?
At my house. I mean, honestly.
Feeding pets, apparently.
I mean, yeah, that's for sure. But
It's a full-time gig, it sounds like.
Yes. Honestly, now that I travel so much for work, I don't like to be anywhere but home now. I don't know if my wife likes that as much, but we have a good friend group that we like to do things with. So, the Carmichaels, who's teacher, Ryan's teacher, Jen works at Ford Meter Box, Draper and Stacy, and Stanley's, we all hang out and do a lot of things together. So if we're not doing that, I'm probably with one of those couples doing something, going out to eat, or we like to play a lot of card games too. So that can get pretty interesting too with the 8 of us playing cards.
Euchre, or what do you play?
Blitz, I don't know, 31.
Oh, I know 31.
So it's Blitz 31. So it gets heated. It gets a little heated.
Nothing wrong with a little bit of competition.
Yeah, and there's some of those games where you draw cards and read them out loud and try to guess who would say that.
Oh.
And those are pretty funny too.
Oh, we're talking. I love games like that.
Yeah. And we do, my family and I, we do a lot of game nights. We just did one Saturday. We love it, because then I have all my kids there, my grandson, and he'll sit on my lap or Grammy's lap, and we'll play games. So
Grammy, what do you go by? I wanted to ask you that earlier.
Pop.
Pop. You look like a pop.
I know.
I agree.
I've been Pop for
I like that.
since he started saying it. So
Did he name you?
that's what the kids decided. My
Okay.
daughters, my two
Yeah.
daughters decided, and my wife wanted Grammy. She didn't want anything else.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
said, I don't care what you call me.
Yeah.
It's be the nicest thing I hear all day. So
Aw.
You're too young to be grandpa. Pop's fitting. It's good.
I say that, but I've had 4 knee surgeries and a hip surgery, and that tells me a different story that I'm not too young anymore.
Well, you're almost brand new.
Well, they didn't replace him. That's the bad thing.
Oh, just repaired you?
Yeah, I needed, the hip was a reconstruction instead of a replacement because I was too young. And I did that when I was at the city, so I didn't follow directions there either, though. So I ran into my physical therapist at Wings when I was going in, and I didn't have my walker. And I said, well, we'll just pretend like we didn't see each other. So I don't follow directions very well when it comes to rehabbing. I'm not very good at that. I try to do more than I'm supposed to. So I want to be healed tomorrow. So I just had knee surgery 5 weeks ago.
Oh, so your knee goes pop.
Yeah, it did 2 years ago when I was playing golf and I got down a bunker. It was the St. B golf outing, and it was our second hole. And I went down to get into the bunker, and I was playing with Jason Draper and Stacy, his girlfriend, and then Amber and I. And I said to them, it kind of went down, right? And I heard it pop, and then I couldn't put any weight on it whatsoever. And it, swelled the size of a orange.
Oh.
And I was like, somebody's got to help me out of this bunker. And my wife's like, what are you doing down there? I'm like, I can't get out of this bunker. So they had to come help me get out of the bunker. And then, I rode around the rest of the day on the cart with a bag of ice around my knee. So that was awesome.
I am sure the listeners are getting, those who don't know Tyler, for those who know Tyler, this is just Tyler.
Yeah.
Real,
Authentic.
authentic.
Yep.
Yes. For those who don't know Tyler, I hope that's what's translated through this episode is to hear you are who you are unapologetically, but also respectfully.
Yeah, 100%.
And that's what we really want this podcast to do, is to make sure that people who are listening, because we have a wide listenership, a lot of local audience, but when we look at the data, we have people around the state, around the country, and actually around the world who are picking up and listening to this podcast. And we hope, one, if you already live here, you're reminded of all the great people who are working really, really hard to keep Wabash County thriving.
Oh, yeah.
If you live outside of here, we hope you feel inspired or consider this as either a visit or a place to call home or invest your business in, because episode after episode, whether it's a commissioner or our local barber, right?
Oh, yeah.
And then all ends of the spectrum in between, cleaning up our rivers, etc. You can hear the heart behind all of these individuals who are coming around to do the extra, like
Yeah.
you said, just that little bit.
I'll stand by this, and I've said this for 2 decades, that our downtown is probably one of the nicest downtowns around.
Yeah.
And I'll put that up against just about any downtown that's out there.
Yeah, Wabash. I would say, and also North Manchester, to be honest. It's
Yeah.
also beautiful.
I have traveled a bunch, and I've been to a lot of towns, and I've seen a lot of things. And what goes on here now, of course, I don't see the back end like what we talked about with the commissioner thing. But, just the appearance of downtown. This downtown is phenomenal. And LeGros doing good things, and Rowan's doing great things, and in Manchester, like everybody, Penrod's got it going on up Manchester. That dude's awesome.
Yeah.
I love that guy.
Yeah.
So I told him a couple weeks ago, I said, hey, man, I need you to take me on a tour around Manchester.
He was stoked when you reached out to him.
Yeah, I'm like, all the things you're doing, man, we need to be doing this countywide. Why are we not doing this countywide?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, he's doing awesome. And, I love learning from people like that. Like, I'm not the smartest person. There's definitely so many more people smarter than me. But, man, if I can emulate good things like that,
Right.
I mean, I would love to. So,
And your travels are showing you, reiterating what you believed in your heart. Now
Yeah.
you're knowing it as fact.
yeah. So-
My husband would call those rock facts. Like you can't negate it. You're traveling, you're seeing other places, and you're
Yeah.
seeing how they're failing.
Yep.
you have a deeper understanding of why we're not, and on a countywide level. And I would also say, in somewhat thanks to our Imagine 185 plan, we're starting to see this momentum ripple out into these smaller towns
Yes,
in
for
our
sure.
county.
100%.
But having decision makers like you and the other commissioners is a game changer.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. As long as you're not afraid to think outside the box, right? Like
Right.
sometimes these avenues aren't just a cookie cutter straight way to do things. You got to do a little creative thinking.
Yep.
And when you surround yourself with people that do that, a large amount of people, it makes things so much easier because they're not crazy ideas anymore.
No.
They make sense, right? And everybody goes, I can get behind that. Let's do that.
Mhm.
So I love that that's what's been going on in this town for as long as it has been. And honestly, that's what's kept me here. I mean, I could work from anywhere with
right.
my gig, right? And my wife, any hospital she wanted, she could go get a job at. So we could live where it's warm. And trust me, it's come across my mind a few times when it goes 70, then 30 and snow the next day, right? So
Yeah.
I think everybody goes through that until it gets nice again. But that's the stuff that keeps me here is, everybody's willing to jump in and do the work. So I love that part about this community.
Man, if that's not an exclamation point on an episode, I do not know what is, honestly.
Well, we try sometimes.
Tyler, I cannot thank you enough for being in this studio.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're impressed by this old closet.
Yeah, this is totally different than the 15 years ago I was
Storage,
up here.
storage of boxes. And that's made possible for other thought leaders, game changers. We talked about the Lisa Gilman Investment Fund, Sandra Kunkel Trust, Mark and Amy Ford, Paperworks Industries, Community Foundation of Wabash County, the City of Wabash, and Visit Wabash County all make this podcast possible. And we're ever grateful for that. Until next time, I'm Christine Floor.
I'm Adam Stakman.
And I'm Alex Downard.
And this is the ThriveIN Wabash County podcast.